We start with the district level elections, which has just ended inconclusively in some electoral areas in the East Mamprusi municipality of the Northeast region. The elections was announced in the Langbasi area after unidentified individuals snatched and destroyed 2 ballot boxes. The unidentified individuals also launched violent attacks on some of the voters, leading to the injury of 3 persons, as we're learning. In Boku electoral area, fighting broke out between supporters of the aspirants. 1 person was injured and hospitalized this morning. 3 aspirants within the areas affected have massed up at the office of the Electoral Commission, demanding some fresh elections to take place in the area. Ilyasu Tanko is our man on the grounds, joining us now with more on this. Ilyasu, let's get to the details of what's happening in the area. What can you report?
Ilyasu? Well, like you said, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, so like you said, in the Langbasi electoral area, we understand yesterday the election ended inconclusively. This morning, we have aspirants from that particular electoral area currently at the EC office in the East Mamprusi municipality, making some demands, including the rerun of this particular election. According to this disgruntled contestants, that during the voting, some individuals invaded the police station and took control or took away 2 ballot boxes. 1 was completely destroyed, and the ballots inside were torn. One of the ballot boxes was also taken to an unknown location. We understand the police was able to intervene and retrieve these 2 ballot boxes. Now the contestants are rejecting the quality of this particular ballot boxes, so they are demanding the rerun of this particular election in the Langbasi.
So in terms of the security arrangements now, what's happening, and has the EC made any pronouncements?
In the Bongo electoral area, we understand that.
Yeah, I'm just asking about the current security situation now, and if there's any pronouncements by the Electoral Commission now on what might happen in terms of the calls for a rerun of that exercise. We seem to have a challenge connecting with Ilyasu there, but some areas within the Mamprusi municipality experiencing challenges in terms of the district level elections, violence erupting in some parts of that community as well, raising concerns, and lots of people, we understand, have massed up at the EC outlets there, asking for a rerun of the election. As to why that's the case, of course, Ilyas will bring us up to speed. We'll reconnect with him shortly just to get a bit more of the answers, and then try as much as possible to get through to the EC as well for some explanation on what's happening. We'll get all of that and more for you shortly. Please stay with us. And of course, for those of you who are wondering what's happening in the area, we do know that this is a twin situation happening up north, the reason for which we're still learning of the fine details that are just coming through to us. Ilyasu Tanko there giving us a bit of an update. We'll reconnect with him shortly and bring you some updates. Please stay.
Still on monitoring the electoral processes in this year's district-level election, we've moved from Ghana Central to Ghana North, where we're catching up with Dr. John Halm, who is the parliamentary candidate-elect on the NDC ticket for this constituency. Honorable, thank you for joining us for a brief conversation.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to know, in your perspective, what have you observed so far, and what do you think about the electoral processes since morning?
Well, it's very good. So far, so good. A few places that I visited this morning, the exercise is going on smoothly. 1 or 2 things has been observed. That is, the turnouts at certain places are quite a bit low. But coming to Kwofie electoral area, I realize the turnout is much appreciable.
We know that the NDC is not particularly excited about the not using the indelible ink as we've done for years now. And what do you think? Because some of the officials have told us that they've not had any problems yet with the software. What do you think, or what have you observed, in your opinion, the processes without the indelible ink?
Well, it's not the traditional thing we know of our election processes in Ghana. So it's got a new thing, which I think is not the best for us. What about, I think it's a recipe for any disaster.
Let's go more on the telephone lines now and, of course, get some updates from the Electoral Commission as they are now about to provide us with some updates on their general assessment of the district-level elections. Dr. Sribo Kweku is Director General of the Director of Electoral Services, I should say, of the Electoral Commission, joining us now. Thank you, sir, for your time. Your own assessment of what's happening so far, reports of violence in some parts of the north. What's the national picture in terms of the reports the EC can render? Dr. Sribo Kweku, I hope you can hear me, sir. Dr. Sribo Kweku, I hope you can hear me now. We'll just reconnect with Dr. Sribo Kweku shortly. But Doc, of course, we'll be getting more details for you. But joining us now is the Deputy Commissioner of the EC, Dr. Bosman Asare, who's on with us. Thank you, Doc, for spending some time with us. Apologies there, I thought it was Dr. Sribo Kweku. The question about, your assessment of the exercise so far, reports we're hearing from up north and all of that. What's your own, assessment based on the exercise so far?
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, sir.
Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your viewers. In terms of our assessment concerning what transpired yesterday, all the various regions had a very smooth exercise. It's unfortunate that we couldn't have it in all the districts in the eastern region and some few electoral areas in the Ashanti region. But the reports that came to us last night and this morning are clear indications that the processes were conducted in a very, very professional manner. In some places, the turnout happened to be very high. In some places too, especially in Greater Accra, it was low. We are just waiting for tomorrow to finish the remaining voting in the electoral areas in the Ashanti region as well as the eastern region, so that we'll be able to come up with the main findings from this exercise. But if what transpired yesterday was anything to go by, everything generally went on very, very well.
The domestic election observers already raising concerns about the process so far. They say that you've, of course, not delivered what is expected to have been a smooth district-level elections. Of course, national coordinator for the group, Eugene Ahin, Albert Ahin, raising a number of concerns about even the printing of the ballots. So what's the factor accounting for the problems we've witnessed in terms of the issuance of the ballot papers?
I think we've heard several people trying to criticize what transpired yesterday. Running elections, especially the district level elections, is so different. It's more complex. The features are so different from that of the presidential and the parliamentary. With this election, what happens is that you are doing the elections in each electoral area. So you take a place, a particular district, for example, you can have different elections in about 33 areas for the unit committee as well as another 33 for the assembly. So this is a very, very different one. The commission was strongly of the view that everything must be held on the 19th, but we had some last-minute technical challenges. As a result of that, the ballot papers delayed in some of these areas. So you look at, of the 16 regions, we're able to send the ballot papers to all the districts, all the electoral areas in 14 of them. In Ashanti region, where we have almost 1,087 electoral areas, we're able to have ballot papers for both the unit and the assembly in almost about 806 of the electoral areas. In the eastern region, although we were able to get the ballot papers for almost 20 of the regions, in some of the regions, we had some delays. So the thinking of the commission was that in order to have a level playing field, why don't we postpone it to Thursday? So that's why the rest of the districts are going to have the elections on Thursday.
So is it your assessment that what transpired leading to the subsequent announcement from the EC that you'd have to defer the process has nothing to do with the issuance of the ballot papers?
You said it has nothing to do with what?
With the issuance of the ballot papers, I'm asking.
No, the ballot, as I indicated, in some of the places, the ballot papers delayed. Some of the places, the ballot papers were there around 9:30 a.m. And the thinking of the commission was that once we've announced that the process will begin at 7 a.m., it will be appropriate to give them another opportunity so that all of them will be able to start at 7 a.m. And we noticed that those places too were several. For example, in the Eastern region, we're looking at almost about 16 or so districts. In Ashanti region, we're looking at over 200 electoral areas. And just again to clarify, the commission is fully prepared that by tomorrow, all of them are going to have their elections.
You don't see, a late an arrangement with the private, company that's printing this as the problem, because Codeo appears to be citing that as part of the challenge, indicating that you contracted these organizations very late in the day, a reason for which we experienced what we experienced.
I'm not getting the question well.
I'm saying that Codeo argues that you contracted the private company that printed this or the ballot papers late in the day, a reason for which we cited what happened, leading to the deferment of the process to tomorrow. I'm asking if that's not part of the challenge we have. Hello, sir. And Dr. Osman Asari is the Deputy Commissioner of the Electoral Commission, speaking to us on the exercise we're expecting tomorrow. We'll reconnect with him shortly to get some clarity on that, concerns about the ballots and also what's likely to happen tomorrow. We'll see if we'll have him join us back again. But up north, we are already learning of reports of violence, as Ilyasu Tanko, our reporter there, pointing out, and of course citing some issues that might have been leading to this. Dr. Bosman Asari, if you can hear me, apologies for that. I was just pointing once more to what it is that Codeo appears to cite as a problem. The issue about the contractual arrangements between those who are printing the ballot papers. The claim is that you contracted them late in the day, a reason for which we're seeing what we're seeing.
Know how or where could you got that particular information? But to be frank with you, as I indicated, they've been working with us. They know our timelines, and we also know our timelines when we have to give to them for the time for them to also print. And I pointed out we had some technical challenges. Certain technical challenges are such that once they come up, it will be very, very difficult to overcome. And as an institution, when these things happen, we do learn from it a lot. We don't think it's so fatal because, as I indicated, these are elections that are held at various electoral areas, and you are talking of almost about 12,400 different elections, and the commission has been able to do them in almost 12,000 of them. We have a few more to go. It's unfortunate that we couldn't deliver everything yesterday. But again, we want to assure each and everyone that come tomorrow, all the outstanding districts in the Eastern region and the 200 or so electoral areas in the Ashanti region, they are going to be having their voting tomorrow.
In what ways have you addressed the technical challenge to give the assurance to those who might have to queue up again and to be sure that tomorrow when they show up at the polling stations, there won't be a challenge again?
No, we've addressed them. It's not in my position to say what we've actually done. And I know for the electorate, what they are looking forward to is to have their ballot papers at their various polling stations, and we've been able to do that. So as I indicated again, come tomorrow, once they visit their polling stations, they are going to have their ballots. They will be able to vote from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Some of the political parties already raising concerns about the process. Some NDC MPs pointing out that this is simply a foreshadow of what's likely to happen in the next elections. The fact that you're not prepared to organize the national elections, given what's happening at the district level? Anything to go by?
Oh, I think anyone who believes in that or comes to that particular conclusion doesn't appreciate or doesn't understand the differences between the district level elections and the parliamentary.
The beauty of technology there. We're trying to re-establish the connection with Dr. Bosman Asare, who's providing some updates on what to expect tomorrow. There's also the question as to which areas or perhaps which regions will now be participating in the exercise. We know that parts of the Eastern and Ashanti region. We'll see if we can map out the areas so you're clear on what's happening tomorrow for those of you in the Ashanti and parts of the Eastern region. We'll get all of those details for you shortly, but we're just getting that assurance coming through from the Electoral Commission that the exercise will continue tomorrow. And we've lost Dr. Bosman Asare. You're watching a pulse with me, Blessed Ogunga. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. Let's find out if the connection is better now. Dr. Bosman Asare, apologies there. We lost you briefly while you were making that point. Hello, Doc. We still seem to have some challenges. Dr. Bosman Asare, one more time, if you can hear me. We lost you briefly when you were making that point. Not a favorable day for us, but of course, let's give it a bit more time to see if we can have Dr. Bosman Asare come on. Very pertinent questions, a lot of concerns emerging, in relation to the process, which we'll bring to you shortly. But we could, of course, talk about some more issues happening today, also in Parliament, as we know it. President Akufo-Addo's nominees to the Supreme Court, Justice Henry Anthony Kwofie, has been fighting claims that there are too many judges on the apex court. Now, the president has nominated a total of some 18 judges to the Supreme Court, and has been accused of parking the court with NPP-aligned judges. Answering the question of Hassan Tampoli at the Appointments Committee today, the current Court of Appeal judge opined that the current workload on the highest court does not make the number of judges there too many.
15, it's a high number. The honorable member has actually set out some of the jurisdictions of the Supreme Court. Very wide jurisdiction. Sometimes people just say, oh, even the US, they have 9. Why do we have 12? Why do we have 15 and 16? We compare different things from different environments, different systems. Last week, and I can say this, I was trying to call a Supreme Court judge on phone. When she eventually picked the call, called at 5:30, he said, my lord, I saw your call, but we've been sitting from 9 o'clock to 4:30. We had 29 cases. That's at the Supreme Court, not a high court, not at the Court of Appeal. And if you look at the 12 that we have now, there are actually 2 panels, only 5. There are only 2 judges extra left. The Supreme Court sits 5. If they are dealing with a constitutional matter, 7. So with the 12, we actually have only 1 panel, 5 more. So the 15 is clearly, as far as I'm concerned, I don't understand what is meant by packing. But it's not packing. There are, as of now, the 3 that you are talking about, they have retired. And in fact, it's not 3, actually 4 retired. So if you leave the 3 who have retired, you have to fill the vacancy. Otherwise, the current crop of a Supreme Court judges, very soon they will start falling off, given the volume of work at the Supreme Court and the jurisdiction. Because everybody, every case, and I can say this, every case that starts from the High Court now, about 90% end up at the Supreme Court. Because in our system, we seem to have an open door policy. Every case that starts from the Supreme Court, it could even start from the Circuit Court. District. and then you move all the way to the Supreme Court.
My lord,
in the US, you can't do that.
The Supreme Court does not preside over trials concerning offences of illegal mining. Justice Kwofie says the courts must take some action.
Supreme Court, the question of trial of Galamsey cases doesn't arise because the Supreme Court is not a trial court in that sense. So the Galamsey cases will not come to the Supreme Court. But I agree with you, the havoc being done by Galamsey, and I think that the attitude of the judiciary, where the evidence is produced and the accused persons are found for the judiciary to impose harsh sentences. That one I agree with you entirely. Because of the environmental hazards, the damage, the destruction that are being caused to our environment, to our river bodies, to the farmlands across the country. But the Supreme Court doesn't hear the Galamsey cases as a trial court.
A good time now to cross over to Parliament, where the vetting is underway for some more, of course.
Come on the bench and congratulate him on the nomination. Clearly, everybody around this table speaks highly of you and your performance. But the whole day we've been concerned about the public perception about the judiciary, the administration of justice, perception of corruption, and etc. But everybody today is saying that you've been an outstanding judge from the lower courts to the High Court up to the Court of Appeal. As a judge, you have control over your court. The prosecution in your court, you have control over them. The accused person, you have control. The plaintiff, the defendants, and your court clerks. How, from your experience, and having done so well and risen so fast, from your experience, how will judges go about changing that negative perception of the judiciary?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think corruption in the judiciary is a worrying phenomenon, and sometimes I tell myself that, well, there may be pockets of one or two officers here and there, but I think the perception is over-exaggerated. Because in my view, when they talk about corruption in the judiciary, they lump everybody who has something to do with the administration of justice into it and brand it as corruption in the judiciary. The police investigators are part of us, the prosecutors are part of us, and all that. And therefore, that is the worrying part. That is not to say that from time to time, you will not find a judge misconducting himself or herself. In fact, I have presided over a disciplinary proceeding which led to the dismissal of a judge. It wasn't a pleasant experience for me, having had to preside over proceedings out of which a colleague lost a job. But as we say, death is unpleasant, but somebody has to make the coffin. And therefore, I had to do it. That is a signal that from time to time, we'll have some of these cases, isolated cases coming up. But for me, the issue is how are we dealing with it? How are we dealing with it? And that is where I think we'll have to look at the system and see measures that are being or that are put in place to ward off some of these incidents. In the judiciary, we have a complaint procedure. Maybe we haven't made so much noise about it. And I think we need to do that, where the public or members of the public are entitled to make complaints against judges or officials. When these complaints are made, they are thoroughly investigated. And when the judge is found or the officer is found culpable, the judge is dealt with, or the officer is dealt with in accordance with law. So we have that avenue. But I think perhaps we also need to engage the public about what we do. Over the years, judges are withdrawn, and people don't know what we do and what happens within our system. And I think the time has come for us to engage the public more, so that at least some of the perceptions or misconceptions may be erased. The Honorable Chief Justice has an annual program, Chief Justice's Forum. It's a laudable idea. It's a process by which she engages the general public who appear in the deba and ventilate their views about the judiciary. I think such initiatives are good enough to help erase some of the misconceptions. Thank you very much.
Well, the greatest way of erasing the misconception is the actual experiences of citizens, accused persons, litigants in the court. That's the best way. I mean, I always say that Antimony has never advertised on television, but every weekend you see ministers, MPs, superstars, billionaires, poor people, all driving to Labone to go and buy the waakye. But I've never heard her advertising on radio or on television. So good food sells itself. So the best way is what people experience when they come into contact with the administration of justice. And you rightly pointed out the different actors. And the whole day I've been focused on this team. You control the prosecution. Once they are in your court, you control them because you know the rules. The accused, the witnesses, your court clerks, every other actor. How do we ensure that we get all these acting well so that overall people don't accuse the judiciary? Ultimately, they say that you said that they lump the judiciary and say it is the judiciary. It is all these other actors. How have you, in your experience as a judge, and everybody here says you're a very good judge, how have you managed to deal with these issues, and come out with such a sterling performance that everybody is commending today?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think perhaps we need to clarify one point. Of course, the perception is out there, but I don't think that it is generally believed that people have lost confidence in the judiciary. If you look at the number of cases that are filed every day, I just mentioned the number of cases pending before even the Supreme Court. So people still have confidence in the judiciary, except that sometimes the good side is not told so much as the bad side. But personally, I think as judges, we have our own role to play. First, how do you comport yourself? Because your comportment will send a signal to those who work around you. If you comport yourself well, people look up to you and then they take a cue. So I think we have personal responsibilities as judges to comport ourselves and expect others to look up to us and do the same. I think the principle also is that a judge has a summary jurisdiction over its officers. And therefore, maybe through that avenue, when we find an officer going wayward, we may find a means of bringing that officer to book, either reporting to the complaint or the appropriate authority to deal with it. So I think these are some of the means by which we can help clear the misconception. Thank you very much.
Lastly, God willing, you'll be there for 18 years. God willing. And perhaps one day become the Chief Justice. I would have preferred that it's one of my classmates, but a year above me is not bad. How would you contribute towards really improving the practice of lawyers before the courts? I was expecting in all this for you to mention lawyers, because lawyers are officers of the court, and they are key players in erasing this perception. You know, when there's a litigation, there's one lawyer whose whole agenda is to drag the case for 10 years. And there's another one whose agenda is to get justice today. And you are between them. If the one that is strategizing to drag it for 10 years succeeds, the person who is suffering as a result of his strategy being successful is going to go out there and not see what the lawyer is doing, but see you, the judge, as the one who has been bribed, and who has not stood firmly, who has made him to suffer, 20 years. So how would you deal with the issues of the profession, the practices of lawyers, to ensure discipline there as an effort to build into trying to change the image of the judiciary?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. In terms of bar-bench relationship, there's a limit to which a judge can go. But then once a lawyer is before a judge, as you rightly said, the lawyer is under the control of the judge. And I think the way to go is to be firm. I remember when I was sitting in the Circuit Court KMA, I looked at the caseload and told myself that looking at this caseload, if I decide to sit at 9 a.m., I may not be able to do much. And therefore, I will start sitting at between 8 and 8:30 and see what will happen. When I started sitting at 8:30, I sit and the lawyers will be appearing. So I told myself that if you take a positive step, you get the lawyers to follow through. So I think it's all about the judge being fair and firm and making sure that he or she is consistent. And if you're able to do that, I think the lawyers will toe the line and it will assist in clearing the misconception. Thank you very much.
All right. Yes, Honorable Gisela, I'll allow you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Your Honor.
Thank you, Honorable.
My lords, I'm sorry. I have nothing to do with the law, so bear with me. Well, not much. What is your view on judgment debts? And do you think that as a country, we have done ourselves enough justice to the quantum, the value, and the expenditure that goes on this particular item, judgment debts? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the issue of judgment debt is a worrying one. At a point in time, a whole commission was set up to go into that. And I think the commission made certain recommendations. I don't know whether we follow through the recommendation. But I think part of the reasons is how we handle governmental contracts. I am told that in some of the departments, contracts are cancelled without even seeking the advice of the Attorney General. I think we need to look at that and make sure that as far as government contracts are concerned, Attorney General is in a unique position to advise as to how a particular contract ought to be dealt with. And I think that if we start monitoring how these debts come up, we can curb the situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So if there was a commission, can we appeal to you that if you get the nod, you would revisit the recommendations of that commission and let's do something about it. You have time, 18 years, God willing, that will be on the Supreme Court. You have a laxity of time and latitude as well. And we wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
He, as a judge, has no role. The advice of the commission was set by the executive to guide them as to how they should go about public funds. That's what he's talking about. They don't seek legal advice. So he may not be able to do anything about it unless the judge is on the law is on our side. That we should hold people who cause judgment debts responsible. If my action or inaction causes judgment debt, I should be personally held responsible. I think that's another way to look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Then it's about time that we held people responsible because there's too much of an open door. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, leader.
Chairman, thank you. Once again, I want to congratulate the nominee. It will be wrong if we don't confirm these and then give him the necessary respect. I've heard in my ears he's a traditional ruler now. If he's not, he will be. Not yet. Okay. Because I would have preferred to refer to him as Nana something. So we pray that even that one comes. It looks like this year is going very well for the nominee. May God continue to bless you.
Honorable Chair, what I can describe myself sitting here is that I'm eligible. I am eligible to occupy S2. When we get to the river, we'll cross it. Thank you very much.
For now, he's eligible.
I am eligible.
May your wishes come true. I think, Mr. Chairman, I will start from where my colleague ended. He's got a lot of experience in on many issues, including arbitration and others. I asked this question in the past to one of your colleagues, which is to say that, as colleagues said, where we sit as members of parliament, we are also concerned, just as you are, when we know as a country we are struggling with resources. And when we see certain resources dissipate, which does not add any value to our country, we all hurt. And so we are all looking forward to see how you can help to reduce. You cannot stop people from taking legal action if they feel their rights have been trampled upon in a contract. But maybe the way we write contracts and the termination clauses need to be clearer. And I agree with you that if you are a government entity in a multi-million-dollar contract and you feel you want to terminate it, I think the Attorney General needs to have a view so that you don't go and commit the kind of, things that put all of us in a position to give away the little we have. So we look forward to see how you see things like this. On page 4 of 6 of your CV, I can see between 2011 and 2013, a member of E-Justice Committee, Judicial Service, assisting in the preparation in preparing the service to start the E-Justice program. I'm sure it is a lot of time since 2013, but you are still in the business of this. What would you say the success, or how did the E-Justice improve justice delivery in our country?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Between 2011 and 2013, that was when the E-Justice program had started being operated in the judiciary. At that time, what we used to do was to read the raw judgments, brief them, and then have them uploaded onto the platform. Since then, I think we have moved on and things have improved. These days, we are talking about E-Justice in terms of e-filing, e-service, e-case management, e-hearing, e-judgment, and all that. It's a complete infrastructure. And I always describe e-justice as a game changer in justice delivery. And therefore, every effort ought to be made to make sure that its full potential is realized. The problem has to do with the infrastructure, the internet infrastructure. But I'm aware that efforts are being made to ensure that it moves beyond its pilot stage at this stage, and it is replicated far and wide to aid justice delivery. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. At least it's a very, it's a good news that at least there's one thing we have tried to do to improve service delivery to our people, and the practitioners can say that it has helped them. We look forward to supporting you in whatever we can as Parliament to make that even better. Chairman knows that we are just about to approve your budget. In fact, I'll be happy if there's a line in there which is for e-justice. That will even give me another reason to support it even better. Mr. Chairman, I've never met the nominee, but with all colleagues saying whatever they know about him, I think I can only wish him well in whatever he's doing, and may the good Lord also guide your steps, and may you become a shining star as to why the skeptical Ghanaian who feels the judiciary cannot be trusted, may you be one of those lights that give people hope that justice is actually what it means in front of the paper or in front of the book, that justice means that it was delivered irrespective of any influence or anything. May you succeed in your endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go straight to, I have only about 5 questions, so I'll go straight and then deal with it. Just 5. First, I'll refer you to your CV, page 3 of 6. Item 5, on leadership positions held. Item 5, leadership positions held. I've seen here, 2018 to present, member Board of Directors, Eswatifi Rural Bank PLC. Part of the board to give policy direction to the bank. I've also read on some news portals that just last week you were sworn in again as the chairman of the board. During this period, have you been receiving salaries or some form of allowances?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. My service on the board, first let me correct the impression which I think is inaccurate. Rather, I decided not to seek re-election. I was a member of the board, and I decided not to seek re-election at the AGM, which was held over the weekend. So I think the information that I was re-elected, I've never been a chairman of the board in the first place. And I've also decided not to seek re-election as at the time the AGM was held. So as I speak today, I'm no longer a member of the board. But what happened was that there is a rural bank within my community, and we're all trying to help. So I bought shares to support its funding activities, and at a point I was prevailed upon to sit on the board and support. And so I didn't see it as any conflict between that and my job as a judge. The board sits at most 4 times in a year. Meetings are held during weekends and all that. And I should say that it's not all meetings that I was able to attend. So basically, that was it. I was entitled to receive some sitting allowance as a board member. But to support the bank, what I did over the period was to create a savings account so that those monies will be paid into the account to assist in the liquidity situation of the bank. It's a struggling bank. And so I don't see it as something I have profited from. It was a sacrificial job virtually that I was doing. Thank you very much.
I heard you say that you paid it into a savings account for liquidity purposes. Did you pay taxes on this income? Because they are income.
Honorable Chair, as far as I'm concerned, they will deduct it at source because the internal revenue, how do you call it? Ghana Revenue Authority would have to make sure that they are deducted at source. And so I think they were deducted at source.
But you still have to declare it as part of the requirement for tax clearance certificate. Because what was deducted was withholding, and you will have to declare it for final tax purposes. If they have to refund something to you, they do. If you have to refund something, you have to. So have you done that?
Honorable Chair, I will take steps to have it done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your honesty, because I was going to go on and on. Because your tax clearance certificate does not show that that has been done. It's only reporting your personal income tax and not other incomes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was a bill before Parliament. The full name of the bill: Promotion of Proper Sexual Right and Ghanaian Family Value Bills. The bill is before Parliament. And there has been a number of commentaries on this particular bill. Some argues that if this bill goes through, it will promote state-sponsored discrimination and violence. I want to find out your views on this matter. Do you think the passage of this bill will amount to discrimination against minority sexual groups? Is it the case?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I've followed the debate and the comment. Chair, my position on it is what the law says. Because as a judge, I must be obedient to the law. Fortunately, the bill is in this House. Comments are being made by stakeholders. I expect that this House, Honorable House, will consider all the comments and the issues that have come up, so that at the end of the day, they will come up with a law which will benefit every Ghanaian. And if it comes before me, sitting as a judge, and I have to determine an issue, then I'll be seized with the law and the facts, and then I'll apply the law to the facts as I'm supposed to do in accordance with my duty as a judge. Thank you very much.
Justice J. Frimpong. How do you assess religious tolerance in our country? State of religious tolerance in our country?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I answer this question not as a judge. I answer it as a citizen. And I should say that I am happy about how Christians, Muslims, and other religious groups are able to coexist. I read it somewhere, and I believe that that was true, that the chief imam even made a contribution to the construction of the National Cathedral. I think if that is true, that's the single most important indicia of religious tolerance in Ghana, and we must be proud of it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I know judges have their approach to law, and if I may ask, what is your judicial approach when a matter is before you?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. As a matter of principle, I believe that law must aid development, especially so when we are talking about a developing country like ours. And therefore, my interpretation of every law must be geared towards assisting the development of our society. And of all the approaches, I think it's a purposive approach to interpretation that meets that test. And I go by that. Thank you very much.
Can you illustrate your judicial approach vis-a-vis any matter you have decided for us to appreciate your judicial approach?
It will be difficult for me to talk about it on top of my head as I sit here. I've delivered a number of judgments in this career, and if I could be spared this one. Thank you very much.
Before I conclude, I have two more. Let me ask you once again. There is this view out there that of late, of recent, judges often delivers unreasoned ruling. What is an unreasoned ruling? And can you, as a seasoned judge, assure the nation that you will not be among those judges that delivers an unreasoned ruling?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm not sure about that perception anyway, but judges are doing their best within the constraints. As I speak with you, judges write record in longhand in many of the courts. And therefore, times are difficult. That is not to say that when a judge sits, you bring up anything by way of judgment. In fact, it's been said that reason is the soul of the judgment. On appeal, what we look out for is the reason supporting the findings or the conclusions a judge has made. So reason is very important. And therefore, an unreasoned judgment, of course, an unreasoned judgment is a judgment which contains no reasons supporting the conclusion. And I think that as much as possible, judges should not go that way. But I'm not too sure that there's that perception or the general perception that judges deliver unreasoned judgment. Of course, maybe we need to distinguish between some judgments or rulings are delivered summarily. Some of the decisions, to expedite the matter, you look at it, and then bench ruling, that is permissible. Bench ruling is also permissible. But generally, as much as possible, to the extent that reason is the soul of a judgment, a judge ought not deliver a ruling or a judgment without giving reasons.
And finally, have you delivered one before, unreasoned judgment? Have you delivered one before?
Not that I can remember. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right. I wanted to ask a question on your... I see that on your CV, you are part of the team that evaluates the work of judges and magistrates. And the perception that generally the quality of lawyers coming out of the school is a reflection of the work. Do you see a sign of a decline in the quality of work of judges and magistrates whose work you evaluate?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. As I indicated earlier, within the constraints, judges are doing their best. But of course, some of the case loads are so heavy that you are naturally incapable of delivering some judgment the way you want to. Last time I was talking to we were discussing this issue about concurring judgments. Sometimes, even at the Court of Appeal, you sit in conference and then you decide on a particular matter. And then one of you is nominated to write. But you realize that you would have wished to write a concurring decision in support of that. But at the same time, you also have your judgment to write. So you are constrained. So generally, I think because of the caseload and all that, we are not coming up with decisions as they used to, we used to when the caseload was not too heavy. But that is not to say that we are not doing our best. We are doing our best within the constraints. Thank you very much.
I'm only interested in the lower bench. The lower bench, magistrates and judges in particular. Often, how do you assess? Because the general perception is that, oh, the numbers are not many, or their quality is going down. Do you see that in their work when you evaluate their work, the judges and magistrates?
Honorable Chair, they are doing their best. And what we do, if we see any lapses, is to recommend a particular judge to the JTI for a special training to beef up the knowledge in that particular area of the law. That is how we handle it. But they are few. Thank you very much.
Now on the workload, do you think that if you had seasoned researchers working with judges, it will help improve the situation?
Honorable Chair, thank you very much. I think it will help in no small measure. In other jurisdictions, judges have research assistants. They do all the research and then submit them to the judge. The judge only applies the information to reach a decision. So it's about half of the job done by the research assistant. And it will aid the process if we had that. But I think the issue is one of affordability. But going forward, we may think about that. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we thank you for attending upon the House to answer questions. But before I discharge you, I have to recognize some very big people who have been here with us. Some Court of Appeal judges have been here since morning. I see my Lord Justice Anthony Opong. I see my Lord Justice Stephen Opong. Oh, they want you to write for them to see you. Stephen Opong, Anthony Opong. Who was that Rose? You also called Anthony Opong. Are you a judge? Oh, Capra. Sorry, I was calling justices. Who's there, Justice Aubry? Jerome. Yes, my lord. Did I see Justice Aubry also here? All right, great. Which one? Akabuafu was here. What's Obowoko? Is that another judge by you, my lord Justice Obong? Oh, very well, Mrs. J. from Pong. All right. Then the Omanghima of Achirinsia traditional area. You're welcome. And all the members of the Traditional Council who came to support our colleague. The MP for Achirinsia says I should recognize him. He is not here. So, my Lord, we thank you for attending upon the House to answer questions. As we have told the other colleagues, we usually request the police service and the National Investigation Bureau to give us confidential report on you. Usually it will come before we say it. It doesn't come. So if they come and we need to call you back, we will call you back. But otherwise, you will hear from us. We thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Honorable Members. I'm eternally grateful to you. Thank you.
You are discharged now.
And you've been watching the voting for some of the justices nominated to the Supreme Court. You're watching the polls on the Joy News channel. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. The Paramount Chief of Bongo in the Upper East region has launched a bold initiative to end open defecation by 2024 in the district. The Paramountcy, with support from Water Aid, has also launched the Bongo Wash Fund, a groundbreaking initiative aimed at furthering the shared goal of ensuring every individual has access to dignified sanitation facilities. While 23.9 million people in Ghana, almost 3 in 4, lack even a basic sanitation service. Basic sanitation coverage in the district is 38%, according to the World Health Organization and, of course, UNICEF. Approximately some 48,100 people have access to sanitation facilities. However, as many as 72,154 people are likely to be practicing open defecation. The need is urgent, and the Bongo Wash Fund will serve as a beacon of hope for those communities still grappling with the challenge of open defecation. For more on this initiative, we're joined by our partners, Water Aid, Head of Policy Advocacy and Campaign, George York, and also the Paramount Chief of Bongo Traditional Area in the Upper East region, Baba Salifu Tamale, is joining us via phone. But let me welcome George York in our studios to the polls. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Let's first of all talk about the Wash Fund, because many might not have even heard about, this fund. What is it about, and why was the fund established?
Yeah. Water Aid, as part of the strategy for the next 5 years, one of the aim is to support Bongo to achieve universal coverage of WASH by 2028. And as part of that, the chief, together with the traditional leaders, also thought it would be a good initiative for them to launch the fund to support that, because there's really no way only development partner can achieve that universal WASH coverage in the district. Yeah. So this initiative from the chief to support us and support other development partners, support the people in Bongo to ensure that they are even looking at just ending it next year. Oh. That is ending open defecation next year. Yeah. But in our strategy, we are looking at the next 5 years, but by 2028. That is very that's ambitious target. Yeah, so they actually want, and I'm sure I know the chief very well, and he will mobilize the people to ensure that is done.
What's the financial target really for this? Looking at the fact that you're looking at 5 years, the chief is more ambitious of looking at a period of 1 year. Have we been able to put some cost to it in terms of the financial target?
Yeah. Based on the discussion with the chief, they are looking at about 2 million Ghana cedis for the period, and they also use all the funds that they mobilized during the clamors of the just ended festival to mobilize some funds into the fund.
So this is purely community driven?
It's a community driven, but they are looking at other partners to also, Water Aid provided some money into the fund, and they are also looking to other philanthropists and other people in the community and outside the community to contribute towards that fund.
Okay, we'll talk very shortly about how Water Aid is supporting the community, how you also go about opening the opportunity for other communities. But let's also go onto the phone lines now, and we'll be speaking shortly to the Bongo chief, who would then give us some more clarity on what the community is actually doing. But we can then get into the details of what you do at Water Aid to support these kind of projects and communities. Are you open to everybody, or is it just a Bongo area?
For our strategy for the next 5 years, we are using Bongo as a model and supporting them to achieve universal coverage of WASH by 2028. And we document that process to influence and also engage government and other different partners to replicate it in other areas. Right. So that has been but we are not just focusing on Bongo. We are looking at the Upper East and Upper West region. Because when you look at the WASH coverage, nationally we are doing very well. But when you really look at districts and the regions and community, you see that there's a lot of disparities.
And that's also because of the figures we're looking at that I was just pointing out. Such a significant population of people without water and sanitation facilities. How do we reverse this trend generally? We know water aid is doing quite a lot to support. What more could be done to support, what you're doing at water aid?
Yeah, it actually requires a lot of collective effort because no single organization can really help achieve that. So the chiefs are going to do their part, the government is going to do her part, the different partners are going to do their part. The people themselves are going to really we are going to bring in private sector because partnership is very critical, and we need private sector to come out with innovation, affordable sanitation systems within that environment. All these things are really going to help us to really do that. So there's going to be multiple approaches to this, and we really want that development to be driven by the people. So we are happy the chief and the people are leading that agenda, so they can mobilize from all angles, including resources from water aid and other development partners, and bringing the private sector and the people on board.
I must say, this is a very laudable project by the Bongo people, but what more is on the priority list for water aid in terms of the activities that you intend to run?
Yeah, Bongo, the aim of supporting Bongo to achieve universal coverage is one major aim that we are focusing on within the next 5 years. We are also looking at prioritizing WASH in health to ensure that we address public health challenges. And we are also looking at the third one, we are looking at resilience WASH facility that can stand the test of time, that can stand the drought, the flood, and all the climate change effect on the ground. So that's what we are going to look at.
I see.
And there's really going to be multiple intervention to help us address that. But in terms of our modeling of WASH and hygiene practices, we are looking at 10 districts in Upper East and Upper West.
10 of them, so 10. Not just Bongo.
No, not just Bongo. Right. So we are going to add on to that, because when you look at even the figures in Bongo, I think you saw it yourself.
Yeah.
Nationally, we are looking at between 19-21% of people practicing open defecation. But when you go to Bongo, it's about 60-62%.
Which is
quite alarming. It's about 38% of the people that really have access to basic sanitation facility. So that is one of the, because we should be hard to reach area that can make a lot of impact. That's what Bongo has been selected
and
for.
And since you've been on the field yourself, what's your assessment of where much more aid is needed, water aid, if we should put it that way? Should it be much more towards the north or the south? Because that conversation has come up. Some say, for instance, you talk about open defecation. It's not just the problem in the north. Even in the south, we have some of these challenges. Where should we be more focused, or where are you more focused?
No, seriously, when you look at the magnitude of the challenge of because we are in a WASH organization, the three northern regions are actually the highest. Because when you look at even the water coverage, when you look at Accra and you compare it with the north, that's regional disparity. Even within the region, there are also even district and community disparities. So seriously, if you really want to reach the hard-to-reach area, then it doesn't mean there are no district or communities in the south facing those challenges. So consciously, we are also going to look at how can we partner with others to reach those communities and the districts that are in the south here that are also having those challenges. So even though the focus is in the north, it doesn't mean they're not going to do anything in the south here.
Human activities are also part of the problem because, activities, commercial, even some of them, not necessarily commercial, are posing some threats to the WASH campaign. As water aid, are you also providing some level of education to people, just for them to be much more aware of what's happening?
Yeah, education is one critical area of our work. We don't just put up infrastructure, but we ensure that we build capacity to ensure that whatever we are putting in place is sustainable. We've started a lot of campaign. We are looking at climate change, water and me campaign, where we are actually talking about the impact of calamity on our water bodies. And that is critical because there have been a lot of studies showing that if we are not careful, and we don't address that challenge, Ghana is going to be in water stress maybe by 2025. And we don't want to reach there. So consciously, as Ghanaians, we are mindful of that and putting in all measures, showing that the education is, what we are doing here is part of it. So using the media, engaging the media, partner with the media, the private sector, the community to create awareness and also contribute towards addressing that challenge, because government alone cannot actually do it.
If there's a message for our viewers on, what it is that water aid has come to solve in terms of problem within the WASH sector, what would you want them to do?
Yeah, for us, we believe in sustainable systems, and for me that is very important because there have been a lot of study indicating that when we put up wash systems now, within 3 to 4 years, we go back, about 40% are not functioning.
Yeah.
And there's no way we can achieve SDG 6 when we keep on having that time. So that is very critical. So ensuring that the model that we are putting up, the systems that they are putting up, is something that the people can manage. People can easily get the parts to replace them. People can really repair them. It's very important. And also getting the people involved from the design through to the implementation, through the monitoring, the evaluation, and the usage of the facility is also critical. If these things are done, then when we go back after the period, or maybe after 5 years, we'll see that system that we've put up are actually being sustained.
Partnership with government, for instance, it will be critical, because in everything we do, policy measures would also be necessary in complementing what you do at Water Aid. For you, what should the focus be for these policymakers that will aid what you do at your organization?
We need to have the right policy environment, a very conducive policy environment, because government directs policy development. So that policy that government is developing now, currently government is looking at environmental sanitation policy review, which is very, very important, because the problem was we start addressing the problem from that particular perspective. So the whole process of even developing the policy, how do we get private sector, get NGOs, get the community involved, district involved in developing the policy? That's one, so that they can create ownership. When the policy is developed, how do we even disseminate the policy? How do we ensure that at the policy, development stage, we actually budget towards implementation, so that we don't have the policy that will be lying there, nobody will implement it for a period. And it doesn't help. You spend a lot of money developing policy, but if that policy is not implemented, it's going to be a big issue. And for me, that is critical. And even when you look at the issue of ending open defecation, it's also coming from the enforcement of bylaws. Because if now the chief is saying by 2024, I'm going to end open defecation, we have about 62% of people in the district practicing open defecation, and we are going to end it next year. It means our law enforcement, our bylaws and its enforcement should be critical.
In fact, it's a good time now to hear from the Paramount Chief of the Bongo traditional area, who's joining the conversation, because that's such an ambitious target you're planning, sir. But tell us about, the situation in the Bongo community and why you're deciding to use your good offers as the Paramount Chief of the area to tackle this problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Hello, sir. Yes, please. We can hear you. I was just asking, why this ambitious target and what you're seeking to achieve by next year.
Yes, thank you very much.
Now, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for. Thanks to all our viewers and our listeners. And thank you, Joy News. I'm very grateful to be part of this discussion. I will first of all want to commend Water Aid for that initiative. Using Bongo as a model district is much appreciable. But Water Aid has worked in Bongo for almost 5 to 7 years now, and they understand the problem of Bongo. And so coming out to support us to acquire potable drinking water and also ensure that we deal with our sanitation, have a very good sanitation is much appreciated. And as the chief, obviously we need to show our commitment, because if they are using their resources to support it, then what are we ourselves doing or going to do to support this laudable initiative? So I decided to, I discussed with my sub-chiefs and queen mothers the need for us to employ our determination to support. So we came out with the idea of establishing a watch fund that will support the water and sanitation issues. It will interest you to know that Bongo district has a very peculiar problem as far as water is concerned. We have a very peculiar problem of fluoride. The fluoride content in our water is so high that it has rendered a lot of the people having colored teeth, and then most of the aged are suffering from rheumatism, knees and joint pain. If you contact Minister of Health, they will give you the statistics that yes, a lot of people of Bongo are suffering from joint pains, rheumatism, and it is as a result of the fluoride. And so I believe that Water Aid is coming out to take us out from this doldrum.
And you're setting an ambitious target for yourself, 2024. You say, is that a realistic timeline for you to deal with all of the issues you have in the community? You're saying next year.
Yes, 2024. We want to ensure that by 2024 we should end open defecation, because it will be meaningless if we have good drinking water. Meanwhile, we go around defecating. The fecal matter will pollute the drinking water, the good drinking water that has been acquired for it. So we need to deal with the open defecation seriously.
Right. And what would be your message to residents within the community? They will be crucial in helping you to achieve this target. What will be your message?
Well, the message I have for them, I mentioned it at the Deba grounds, that we all need to put our hands on deck to ensure that we end the open defecation, because we can't continue to live in this situation.
All right.
And so it is. I made it clear to them that the assembly will come out with bylaws that will deal with recalcitrants, and that if at a point people refuse and still want to openly defecate, we'll deal with them according to the law. And that's why we are coming out with this fund. The fund will be able to support people who are needy and cannot afford household toilets. We'll support them with the common KVRP toilets at their homes, and then also put up KVRP toilets and urinal pits at vantage areas within the district.
Okay, Baba, we're grateful that you're spending some time with us, and of course we wish you all the very best in this project. Mr. York, we need to go back. What will be your marching orders now, knowing that the Bongo community set for that ambitious target of ending open defecation?
Yeah, as you said, the target is ambitious, but it's also doable. Since we have the traditional authorities themselves leading that agenda, for me that is important. It's not external person leading, but the people themselves leading. And I know the chief very well. He's really going to ensure that the laws are enforced and people are really supporting that agenda of achieving open defecation. Right. We are all going to support that and be part of that process and help them to celebrate next year, come next year.
Indeed, and we should all be part of that celebration when it takes off next year. But we're grateful for joining us. And that's all we have for you in this package of the polls. I'm blessed, so going to log on to myjoyonline.com. More stories there for you. It's been a pleasure serving you here. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.